Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glacier of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And wow, it gets dark really early now. What are you going to do? Today, we're going to look at whether you should spend your hard earned tokens, hard earned spotlight caches on Gladiator, and also look at Loki and Mirage. Let's get started. But first, hit that sub button, ring that notification bell, leave a comment, leave a like, help us grow. We bring you the best Marvel Snap content we can every single weekday and often on Sundays. At least 2 decks every weekday, shop guides, bundle guides, pro tips, everything you possibly need for your Marvel Snap journey is here on the channel. Supporting us is free. Please. Also, check our friend Father Newman's channel. All you gotta do is hit the video that says Alioth makes Marvelous Sandman, sub to him, and leave a happy birthday comment on that video, and you can win either a $10 gold bundle or a season pass. All good? All good. Now, we have Gladiator. Gladiator is a 3/7 Series 5 card, releases for 6,000 tokens. That is on reveal. Add a card from your opponent's deck to their side of the location. If it has less power, destroy it. This was a better card 3 days ago or 4 days ago, whatever it was, before the Shang-Chi nerf, because then the only power that Gladiator didn't at least tie that was a problem was 8. Now anything that's 8 or 9 power, and remember, America Chavez is 9 power and will spend some time at the top of decks as long as it's shuffle. Um, Gladiator's a 3/7 who's often going to be a 3 negative something. The kill is very similar to a Yandu. The opponent does not see every card, but the downside to that, especially bad here, is that on reveals will happen. So a Doom will happen, a Black Panther will happen, and then the Gladiator in the fight. A Devil Dino's ongoing will also take effect. A Darkhawk's ongoing will also take effect. All of these things lead to Gladiator being a little bit worse than he would otherwise be. Now, there's still like 70% of the game is going to be a hit for him. Most of the time, you're going to get hits, but even hits that should be good often aren't. You don't really want to draw an Iceman in the mid game, right? So hitting an Iceman or a Cord and then them getting the effect and then destroying the card isn't like necessarily a bad thing. Further, you can hit something that's absolutely backbreaking, like Mr. Negative, right? Like you give them a Mr. Negative on turn 3 and there's a problem. There's a lot of downside and potentially a lot of upside. There's a few buffs, and all of a sudden he's hitting almost everything in the game, right? Even with just a forge, he's hitting basically every card. Your worry then is on reveals taking you out of the game. But there is a potential home for him. He's just really, really high risk for like good reward. Before we go further, I know some people decide whether to buy cards based on the variant. So these are the variants. We've got the Haberlin one coming out on the 19th. That's super rare, which means 1,200 gold. If you like it, go for it. Not my favorite. I am going to buy that hip as soon as it's in my shop tomorrow. That hip will be mine. We've also got the Spotlight Cache, the Shaw. I like it a lot. It's the Realm of Kings one, but I also like that there's a cool like Ghost Rider and Nebula in the background and stuff. I think that's a Nova, so on. It's cool that all these characters in the background, but like that hip is adorable. And if y'all know me, know I love me some Dan Hip art. So I'm buying that hip one. I'm at 10 cards. It'll be at 11 for the day I buy this um before the hip comes out, and then I'll be back at 10 cards I need variants for in all of Marvel Snap. Also, quick thought. I am buying Gladiator content creator. Um, I buy everything I have to in order to be able to accurately review it, give you guys the best information possible. Just because I'm buying it does not mean you should, unless you're wailing out. If you're wailing out, then like live your best life, right? But in general, if you're trying to be cost conscious in this game and you're using your resources appropriately, I'm not sure you should buy this. That's what this review is for. I'm getting it. I'll be able to give you an even more full review in a few more days. We have 2 cards in the Spotlight caches. These are our 2 Spotlight variants. They are Mirage and Loki. We're going to talk a massive amount about them later. We've got 3 Loki decks, 2 Mirage decks, although one of those Mirage decks is also a Loki deck. So I guess we've got 4 Loki decks. We've got lots of that to look at. I'll be brief at here though. I don't love this Loki variant. I think it's a good variant, but I think the one they gave us in the season pass, although I guess if you're opening the spotlight, you probably don't have it, is better. I think the rainbow one is better, and I think the one coming in the spotlight cache in January, which is the Vote Loki one, is this Mirage is fantastic art. I absolutely love the art. but there's nothing about it that says Mirage to me, especially. It's a really pretty piece of art that I don't love as a Mirage piece of art, so I don't like it. I've got a different Mirage that I use that you'll see at some point in this video. And the quick, if you're not going to end up watching the like, what's going to end up being a half-hour video, Mirage is mid. You don't actually need her for any deck. She's replaceable by Sentinel, which is series one or two, series two, yeah, one or two card, so whatever. Well, Loki is completely must-have. Wait till January if you want, but like if you want to play Loki decks while they're the best deck in the game, you need to act now. We have some synergies for Gladiator before we go further. First, he's 3 cost cards, so that means Surfer and Surfer deck cards are good with Gladiator. In particular, Cosmo and Werewolf by Night seems like a decent combo here. Um, he's generally good in good stuff for stats, although there is a worry that we'll get to when we talk about the good stuff deck we're going to talk about. I guess we can just say it now. The concern is he's pulling a card out of their deck, right? Which means that your Darkhawk is smaller. You don't really want to be pulling cards out of their deck. Um, I learned playing the a version of Darkhawk Good Stuff that I showcased a couple of days ago that very often I would like Korg into that location that burns the top card of their deck, and I'm just hitting the rock. I'm like, damn it, I'd rather keep that card in the deck and have them draw the rock, right? That's a like you generally speaking, it's okay in those decks, but great. Um, he's good with pump cards like Forge and Shuri, and I think what the real home for this is eventually going to be, or one of the real homes is going to be, is Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw is a great partner for him because you want pumps, and Sebastian Shaw is getting +2 for each pump, and those universal pumps really, really benefit Gladiator. Like if you get a Nakia out first, then all of a sudden, Sebastian Shaw gets +3, and then you get that 3/8, and looking good. I think he's probably destroy synergies. Again, generally speaking, he's going to destroy. And if you miss into a destroy match, you can still put out enough power that like it doesn't super matter, right? Like they get like an 8 power, 9 power card, and you're dropping a 40 power null eventually, and it doesn't matter. Um, I think he's probably decent in junk. I don't think he's like overpowered or nuts in junk, but I think he's probably decent. Again, if you miss into junk, you're perfectly happy. If you just filling their locations when you can shang that. Um, the Shang-Chi change is, I think, the biggest problem for him. I think the Shang-Chi change is less than ideal for this. All right, let's keep going. Just so you know, we're gonna go over a whole bunch of decks for this card right now. If we don't hit something that works, do you check the Marvel Snap Zone Discord? There's a section called Podcast Posts. I will happily build you a deck. I've built 3 people like a series of Series 3 decks. So if you get Glider, you need a specific deck, let me know. I'll make it happen. Okay. This is a safety blade deck. Safety has Enchantress over Shang in this deck. I think Shang is just better for Shuri Sauron, so I changed it back. But if you want Enchantress, this is a safety blade deck. Safety blade is Marvel Snap Zone Rider, and he's completely freaking brilliant. This deck is basically going to say, I go Shuri Red Skull, Shuri Taskmaster, but I can also go Shuri Gladiator for 14, kill your card, and then play Shang for the off chance that misses. Gonna be kind of blunt here. Don't think this works great, like at all. I think having 0 for Gladiator is decent, but I think this is asking a lot. And I think it's asking a lot, and it makes the deck actually worse than it was before. I know a lot of people. I know my friend Super Tech God is looking forward to this type of deck. I don't think this is. Next up, we have the Gladiator Surfer buff. Figured this is kind of gonna end up being the home for Sebastian Shaw eventually. So I figured why not? Like I get the extra pumps on Brood, right? Like Brood loves a Forge, loves an Okoye, which means I want an Absorbent to copy that Brood. Cool. What else can I do here? I can drop Gladiator, and I can go Zebu Gladiator, and then I can Strong for 3, and then I can Forge. Okay, not bad. Right? I can go Forge into Gladiator on 4, a reasonable play. That 9 power Gladiator is going to kill most things, especially if I already got an Okoye out. I can Okoye and Nakia for that card. And that just makes all my Surfer cards end up being really big. I feel like that's probably pretty good. This deck probably wants Storm over Sabu, but like short of that, this should be a very, very good deck. Like my working assumption is this is going to be powerful. It's one of the first places I plan on trying, but not the very first. You can also play a Werewolf by Night version of Gladiator. This is that deck. It basically uses Goose to lock a location, and then says I'm going to Cosmo, and I can drop Maximus and Gladiator there. I'm just playing all the highest power 3 game, where they're all on reveals conveniently, so Werewolf gets huge. At which point Surfer puts him over the top, and then I should win because Goose should lock down a lane, and then Cosmo annoys them to death in another one. And I play Surfer, and then my Surfer Werewolf is like 13, 14 power. Win. I don't know. That seems totally reasonable to me. Rogue is here just because there's a lot of ongoing. So why not? This is one of the very few decks that's not playing Shang. I don't know which of these two decks are better. I look forward to finding out. Winnie made a Patriot deck. I feel like this might be a decent home. Basically, the idea here is you Invisible Woman, excuse me, into Storming Man, and then the last turn of the last play is do Shang or Enchantress, and then you get the ability, right? I feel like opponents will often feel safe when you Shang elsewhere. You might get some extra cubes this way because the opponent will know what you're doing. And if Gladiator misses, then so what? You still got the 3/7, and you're getting rid of it with the extra Shang or the extra Enchantress, and you don't have to use your only card on that because you have two of them. That seems good to me. Not like the best thing in the world, but good to me. Stature Hawk, this has that counter synergy problem. I thought this is based on the Nerf Herder version. I basically cut a 2-drop for Gladiator. Um, do I like it? I don't know. I don't hate it. And then I cut Iron Lad for Shang because I feel like I need Shang if I've got Gladiator. And this is reasonable. It's not the best deck in the world, right? Like, again, thinning the deck for Darkhawk is counter synergy, so I'm not as excited about this as I otherwise would be. Is there a version of this without Darkhawk? Sure, maybe, but that's now a totally different deck, and I'm not sure it's worth it. I'd probably just rather run Werewolf in this spot, right? Like Werewolf with even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on reveals is plenty. So, okay, Gladiator seems just kind of worse than Werewolf in every occasion. This is one where it's probably better than Werewolf. This is Sarah's junk list. I threw Gladiator into it. I feel like this is probably fine. I've got the Shang-Chi. I'm already sort of putting their cards into play with Dr. Octopus, so fine. I can still pull Gladiator too with Ghost Spider if I want to. I can junk up their lane in multiple ways. I can pull a card there into a Titania lane and then use that to fill the lane, even if like if I kill it, awesome. If not, then their lane is completely clogged with Gladiator Titania. There's a lot to like here. There's a lot to do. Um, Debris and so on are just going to fill that lane. I think Gladiator has a reasonable home here. Power is something that Junk really likes. It doesn't mind having like a 3/7, like it doesn't mind having a demon that's 1/6. That's very good for that deck. Destroy is a natural home. I've got two Destroy lists. This first of them. This is the Deadpool free version. I think this is more likely to be better. I think trying to do Deadpool and Gladiator stuff at the same time is a big ask, but this deck should work. I basically took a really high win rate deck that not a lot of people play anymore, where Sabretooth is in that 3 spot, and said if I kill Sabretooth twice, that's basically the same thing as killing Gladiator once, or at least it's close enough. And then plus whatever Gladiator kills, right? So as long as I get that going, I've got my big null, which is the goal here. And this deck naturally runs Shang already. So I've already got that answer card built in there. 3 lets me afford all. Next up, we have this slightly different version. Note that like the top row has not changed at all, right? It is a change of Forge and Deadpool instead of Bucky, Bucky and Nova. I think this version's probably just a little bit worse. I might want Forge over Nova in the other version. I don't know. It's close enough that I'm not arguing. The exact brew of this isn't too different, but I think Deadpool is probably trying to do much with this exact version. Gladiator and Shang are how you make your null big, not necessarily Deadpool shenanigans. Final thoughts. Yes, it's a lot of potential power, but two, do you hate auto losing? Are you the type of person that gets frustrated when you just hit like a double for free and now you're sad? The Shang-Chi change really hurts this card, but the Annihilus, next week's card is Annihilus, and Shaw synergies seem real. I think this is probably really. Annihilus is a 5/7 that puts all your 0 or less power cards to the opponent's side, and anything it can't, it just, which is as a 5 cost is really, really powerful. And you just want to make sure their location is filled as possible when you do that. Well, guess what? That's exactly what Gladiator lets you do. While also occasionally just being a big body that doesn't move, right? We already talked about the Shaw synergies. He's a grab if you need Loki, because like Loki is have, but without, I don't think he's better than next. You have a choice if you're choosing which cards to get. I think Annihilus is enough better than this that you wait until next week and use ashes. And remember, never open with less than 4, especially if you're only looking for 1. one card. If you're looking for two cards, you could probably try to go for three, and then you're fairly likely to get at least, well, you're guaranteed to get at least. Time to talk Loki. This is our Series 5 6,000 token former season pass from September, which feels like yesterday, but was 2 months ago now. On reveal, replace your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck and give them negative cost. Loki is freaking one of the most overpowered cards in the game. He used to be a 3/5, at which point he was completely and utterly broken. Now he's a 4/5, and he's just mostly completely and utterly broken. This is a must have card. It is, by all accounts, the best deck in the game and the best performing deck in the game. This is the version of Loki that is currently most successful. This is KM Loki. KM Best made this version across all the different deck trackers. This is the version that is consistently doing the best. It is a reasonably expensive deck in that it has Werewolf Knight, and Nico. Nico is much less important than Werewolf here, though. Snowguard is a Series 4. Werewolf is like super huge, basically an extra huge body that you can get out, and then like you can win games just by sort of using Werewolf, even if you don't get Loki, which is important. And Shang-Chi, kills some stuff. You bounce back all your ones. You can make Collector reasonably big with Falcons. This deck is very powerful. It is probably the best home for Loki for the majority of you, but its win rate for me is nowhere near the win rate for this deck. This is Lambie Loki deck. It's got a lower overall winning cube rate. I've got a way higher winning cube rate with it. So this one also runs Elsa, the next month's busted season pass card, basically as a way to just sort of make a 1/4 or a 3/6 as an extra like benefit. There's very little downside to that Elsa there. It's not a necessity on it for like one of many cards, but it's a nice way to get extra power. It means that like if you go Maria Hill into Elsa, right, you can drop a 2 and a 1 there the next turn, and then you can Falcon back the 2 1s. Like now you just got more powerful cards to play. It seems like it's generally a good thing. Also, that kind of play will buff Falcon, which is also pretty damn nice. Sorry, buff Collector, which is also. I love this deck. This is probably the most powerful version in my personal experience. I think it's better than the KM one, which is more straightforward. And so this one being more complicated means fewer people really play it at top of ladder level. But Lambie got to like number 2 on the leader. Next up, we have Loki Collector. I don't know what this list is, but it's got 1,000 games on Marvel Snap Zone. Um, and it like so in that 1,000 games on Marvel Snap Zone, it's got like the highest win rate of all of these decks. I don't know where it came from, but the armor is a really fun piece of tech because it protects your collector, and your collector gets super huge in these decks. Especially with the beast. Beast could probably be Falcon, but hey, I'm not trying to mess with it if its win rate is this high. It goes back to Quinjet for extra power, and this deck is just really strong and worth playing. This is the home to this is also, excuse me, the most affordable one if you bought Elsa, right? It likes Elsa here, but it doesn't super need it. Again, Falcon is perfectly fine. You've got your 4/1 drops. Falcon and Quinjet have those worth being. But everything else is basically fine. You don't super need Nico. Agent 13 is fine there, right? Like, you don't super need Jeff. Jeff is really great, but like really great, mostly really great with Elsa. This is just a powerful deck. This is like the basics of what you're looking for when you decide to play Loki. Meanwhile, we have Mirage. Mirage is a 2/2 Series 4, 3,000 tokens. Copy the lowest cost card to your opponent's hand, give it +2 power. Okay, it's a nice ability. Sentinel is generally better because you want it to be repeatable. Um, a lot of the times you're grabbing, like once in a while, you grab something backbreaking, but with Kitty less in the meta, that's far less likely to happen. We've got the Johnson Zabu Loki. This Johnson is made it to the top 4 of Fiona Shade Stories tournament this weekend and played this as one of his decks. This deck is completely bonkers fun. It's what I'm playing on ladder and climbing with. I grabbed 10 conquest tickets. It was in yesterday's video if you want a turn by turn on how to play it. Mirage is here, but Mirage is not important here. Mirage could easily. You do need Zabu and Loki for this, but outside of that, you don't. Or really. There's a bajillion plays with this list, and Mirage is just a nice extra one of them. She's cheap and easy to use, and because Nick Fury and Helicarrier had 3 cards each, sometimes you have to worry about hand space, and then Mirage is sometimes better than Sentinel for the list. By the way, this is my favorite Mirage variant. I spent 1,200 on it. I think it's gorgeous. It feels exactly like the comics Mirage. Finally, we have this werewolf deck. That's our highest win rate in the Marvel Snap Zone database for Mirage. It's basically just a Dark Hawk list, right? But Mirage is just an extra on reveal for werewolf. It can get you an extra on reveal on top of that. It's basically just a natural good stuff card. This deck is really good if you have Ravona. You kind of have to have Ravona, but Ravona works here with your goblins, with your Darkhawk, with your, so that's a lot of power for it. And all of these things as Werewolf is bumping all over the board are powerful effects. Is Mirage necessary here? I don't know. Again, Sentinel's probably fine, right? Like I don't see a huge upside to Mirage over Sentinel, but it's a good card. It's a powerful card, just not a necessary card. So again, this week is largely, I think, for Loki. I think you have to wait for Gladiator unless you're completely sure he's going to be busted. I don't think he's good right now, but he may be with the Nihilus and Draw. The problem is we can't test that in advance, so like that's all speculative. He might be terrible with those cards. He might be amazing with those cards. There's no way to know, so it's really hard to include that in our analysis too closely. This is a super wait and see for me, but I'd be leaning no if my resources were limited because I would want a Nihilus who works almost entirely with Series 3 cards that you would. Destroy is the wild card. If he's super, super great in Destroy, that's going to change. But either way, wait until the weekend so we actually know that. I'll be back in on this on Friday's video. So, Friday morning's video, I will give you the first 3 days of Gladiator, what we know about him, what we don't know about him, whether we think he's worth buying at that point for the weekend missions. Unless you need Loki, then you can just go get Loki. Loki's too important. All good? Thanks so much for watching. That's it for today's video. Please don't forget to hit that like, sub, comment. We'll be back tomorrow morning with 3 more decks, all sorts of other good stuff. Don't forget the giveaway on Fothar Newman's channel, and we'll see you Wednesday for another Snap Take. We'll also have our 1 year anniversary of our podcast. Have a jetty. Peace.